All right, welcome in, everyone. Thank you all for tuning in to thebreakdownsports.com. We are alive on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. You can catch us on Twitter at BRKDWN_sports. This is College Gamebreakers, episode 40. We're going to be talking the SEC tourney. We got superfan Sam Murphy, superfan Link. You'll have some passion. They might not like me by the end of this, so Breakdown might be on the hot seat for a little bit, especially in some of the channels. But I got my fellow SEC partners in here. They wrote a decent amount of articles throughout the season, so they're locked and loaded into this one. So as I'm dabbling throughout my conference tourney previews, got to bring in the two guys in-house that covered it all season. Sam, how you doing on this Monday where you might be in the hot seat after this?
I'm not. I mean, it might actually be hot because I got to wear shorts today, so it was a good day in Indy.
What's up, Link?
Not much. Just I've never been less excited about a UK or SEC round in my life, but I'm even more excited to help a miracle happen. So
I was about to say the one time in your lifetime, and definitely in a while, that you finally get to come on for an SEC preview, and your seating doesn't look too hot. Every other year you would have nailed it. So strap it up. We're going to get into it because the regular season winners in the SEC was Bama. Man, what a year. 2 under Nate Oates turned that program around real quick. I got some good thoughts on them on how he did it from a good fan-wise and how he did it tactically-wise. We got this whole tourney in Nashville. Does Vandy have some sort of home court advantage here? They're so close. No, I mean I know it's not true, Sam. I'm just gotta give them some hope because we might not be talking on the bottom teams that often. So a lot of people are talking Big 10, Big 12, cream of the crop up top. I can say probably hands down better than what we have in the SEC here. But the SEC is still going to pull out 6 bids, potentially 7 here, depending how the conference tourney goes. We'll probably get into the 6 auto bids because I don't think any team's currently really on the bubble in the SEC. You got one trying to make some late noise. We'll see what they do. Sam wouldn't like it if that team made some late noise. But do you guys think it's 6 locks, or do you think any team currently – I know, Link, we didn't mention Kentucky there. Do we think 6 is what we get? Do we think we get 7? Do we go crazy and get even more?
I think it's going to take a miracle to get 7. I think 6 is pretty confident. But I think it's honestly going to take a dream run to get our 7th team in there this year.
Yeah, I'd say. I mean, I think 6 is a lock, but LSU was trying to make it look like, or try to lose it there at the end, losing to Georgia and getting blown out by Arkansas. So I'm glad they snuck out the win at Missouri. I think that kind of solidified their spot.
Yeah, I don't think LSU was ever on the trouble of being on the bubble because when you just look at the teams currently there in the resume, I think they do pull that out. So you won't be sweating that selection Sunday. But when comparing the SEC against the Big Ten, and just as like something I saw over the course of it, the bottom is much stronger than what we've seen in the bottom of those schools. Talking about Kansas State, Iowa State, Minnesota, Nebraska ball. Like, sure, the bottom of the SEC ain't pretty either with Vandy, Texas A&M, South Carolina, but we saw Texas A&M and Kansas State play, and Texas A&M won. So that's where I just think, middle of the pack is kind of where it's going to be a dogfight, what sets up for a good tourney. Do you guys want to hate on the other conferences real quick?
I'll hate on the ACC.
Yes.
I mean, Big 10 and Big 12 can't really say anything. But ACC, this is our year. We got you, sons of bitches.
I gotta go with that. Every year I'd usually hit in the Big 10, even though I don't deserve it. But I can't. They've proved to me that I'd be an idiot if I did. But I'm never not happy to dog on the ACC, and they have earned their criticism this year by far.
Love that. Wasn't expecting the ACC heat here, but it's well deserved. I can agree with that. So Ken Palm tells me that this is the 3rd fastest tempo conference out of all 31 of them because we had the Ivy sit out. But you have 4 teams that kind of stick out where when you're maybe one of these programs trying to compete in the SEC, it's kind of like the football wise where you do a different style, do a different strategy, something that goes different from the norm. Because if everyone's playing fast and you're not bringing in the guys that can compete in that style, you got Texas A&M, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and then Tennessee. They're a little bit quicker, but all four of those teams play at a snail's pace. So that's where when you go through handicapping these games, looking at the lines, you see some tempo clashes coming up. So anything that you guys seen when you had to play a slower tempo team, or do you just think high tempo is the best basketball right now and the SEC is really cruising it with their top teams because it's always electric to watch?
I mean, all the quicker pace teams beat the best of the snail's pace teams. Like Tennessee lost to LSU, Alabama, and Arkansas. So, I mean, I don't see Tennessee making any runs in this tournament.
Yeah, I don't see any team that's playing at a snail's pace to really make a run. You might see one of them get lucky for a game because you never know with SEC officiating what's going to happen from day to day, and they might play with that physicalness. But if you're running the ball, you're winning the SEC this year. There's no doubt about it. The snail's pace isn't going to get you very far, and it's for sure not going to win you this year out of all years.
Yeah, in this conference, I mean, it just seems like the inside has what's been swinging some games and determining some games because second chance points are at a premium here. Because I don't want to hate on the SEC because saying they play ISO ball, but it feels like it's a lot more isolate your best player, let him do some work, your big bodies crash the glass, and just make it miserable to attack the 2 point on the defensive end. So it seems like whoever has the best bigs might be the ones coming out of here. All right, let's get into the outright odds. So I guess you could say we got juicy odds throughout the board where they don't think, even though Bama, the regular season champs, these are all courtesy of FanDuel. They're not giving them too much credit by listing them at plus 240, but that is them having to win 3 games. So it's a little bit more respectable when you see the teams listed in the minus or plus 200s when you have to win the same amount. You got Arkansas at plus 300, Tennessee at plus 500, Florida plus 600, Tigers plus 700, and the rest are over plus 1,000. Link right off the board. Any odds stick out to you where you just think they're wrong, you're instantly crossing them off, or any eye popping where you really like that?
I mean, obviously as a UK guy, I think it's always fun, but I actually think even with the plus 300, I know they're still put at second in the SEC, but I'm huge on Arkansas. I think at plus 300 that those odds are amazing. I think that their side of the bracket really sets up for them to make a run and earn you some money. And I think that you're basically saying that the bookmakers are like, okay, we're giving them the second best chance, but heck, put a little bit of cash on that. And I think that they're your dream team, even at the plus 300 to make you enough money and really gives you the best value with how it's all set up, even at those odds.
Sam, what are you liking?
Yeah, I might be in a nice hedge opportunity because back in January, I think it was after Alabama hit 1,000 threes against LSU, I put 10 on plus 465 for Alabama to win the SEC tournament. So I might hedge out with Arkansas, but I don't foresee any team winning it. Other than that, I might just throw some on LSU for shits and giggles, but LSU's been too inconsistent all the year to show me that they can win 3 games in a row.
Yeah, that carrot with the plus 240 and plus 300 with your top 2 seeds, that's just enticing because you could technically play both sides. And if they make it in there, you're just coasting gold if they make it to the final. So that's another weird strategy you can do if you want to do some math, work those odds out. But instantly crossing off Texas A&M and Vandy, there you go. We talked about your teams. We're instantly crossing you off. Congratulations. You made the tourney in Nashville. Hope you had a fun time. I want to talk about a team that I think that needs to be instantly crossed off, and that's Mississippi State. Plus 6,000. Just don't like those odds. Their path is just brutal because you almost rather just moneyline parlay their odds to just with an open one to have them get past Kentucky and have them to get past Alabama. Sure, it might not be there, but you don't have to get the extra stress of this team isn't winning 4 games in a row. Sam, who's a team that you're instantly crossing off, or do you have a list that you're just throwing them out real quick?
A&M Vandy, as you said, South Carolina, Georgia, both Mississippi schools, and then I threw out Tennessee too. They're not
Ooh,
winning.
why are you throwing out Tennessee?
Because they're so boring. I hate watching them play, and they haven't shown me anything this year that they were so overhyped coming into the year, and I haven't seen anything that has shown me they can go win 3 games against against Alabama or Arkansas and Florida.
Yeah, Tennessee's definitely a team that I'm instantly crossing off as well because that plus 500 doesn't do it for me, especially because, yes, that 4-5, it's just the most brutal path. Sure, you get Florida playing a game before you get you, but you got to go with Florida, then you got to go with Bama, and you just have to think the hardest case scenario. That is just something that from this Tennessee team, it seems like every time they win, they lose the next one. There's no consistency with this squad, so at plus 500, you might as well just ride some money lines. Sure, it's not as good as a payout, but I don't want to see them, or I don't see them winning 3 games with a plus 500 ticket. Link, who are you crossing off?
I got pretty much the same list. I was going to bring up the same thing about Tennessee. I haven't seen a single thing all season, and especially after Kentucky stomped them, that made me think that they could beat a good enough team consistently. And unfortunately, to make our friend Sam mad, I'm also going to throw out LSU because I know LSU can score, but I think in the long run, I just don't see them.
Dude, it's a roller coaster ride every fucking game. You're either giving up 65 or you're giving up 104. So you never know what you're going to get.
And that's the thing as well. And it's unfortunate. And of course, it's just how the bracket plays. Like I say, I don't see Arkansas getting upset before LSU. So if LSU and Arkansas meet, I for sure don't see LSU pulling that upset off that day, especially if Arkansas is still riding that bus. So I'm even throwing LSU out the door from the get-go. And then, like I said, I'm agreeing with all you on the other ones as well. I don't see any of those guys making a dream run this year.
Yeah, that plus 700 doesn't seem enticing enough either. Sure, their first game shouldn't be too tough, but if you do get worst case scenario, Arkansas, Alabama, that plus 700 just still, even though you're taking the offensive juggernaut where KenPom has them ranked as the best offense in the conference, so you got that in your back pocket, but as you guys alluded to, plus 700 still doesn't make you feel too confident about that.
I mean, they've run Arkansas off the floor in one of the games they played, so.
That's true. I'm going to run off Arkansas just based off the recent. They're on right now. I feel the Must Bus is going too fast to be stopped.
Yeah, true. I won't disagree.
All right, so let's talk on the champs real quick because they deserve a little breakdown here where at plus 240, you can definitely twist my arm, and if you make a strong enough case that they would make the tournament. Their only losses in conference play this season have came at Arkansas, and then it was Missouri were the other 2. All the other losses came early in the season. They really didn't have an extended pause at any point of the season either, which is what I like to see from a team because they played their allotted amount of games because they've played 27 at this point, 16-2 in conference. And that's just where those 2 things make me feel well enough. And they're 3 L's when you look at them that came in the recent span. If you include the Oklahoma, they're getting less than 1 point per or less than 0.9 points per possession. The defense is something that I did not expect to come anywhere out of Nate Oates' squad because you saw in Buffalo when he was going to come through, he's definitely going to pay with that fast pace. And what gets your eyes on a football school? Possibly. And that's where Bama's just like, you know what? All we're going to do is have sick dunks and just jack a bunch of threes. And that will gain some fandom in the area because there's not an NBA team. I guess you got the Pelicans close and they kind of run the same style, but you just make it a cool, eluding style. You get a good coach in Nate Oates. I mean, the team was already set up. It was just more on the prior coaches not being able to coach up the current talent there, in my opinion, because he didn't really bring in anyone that much of a name other than Primo potentially, and everyone else he kind of already had there. Quinterly was a nice transfer grab from Nova, but you're probably banking on the hottest team here. So at plus 240 and with somehow they're a top 10 defense, which I did not expect to see this season. Never. That's where you're banking on a team could be a juggernaut offense. 23 threes against Sam just ruined his night that night. just holding teams away
no,
from
no.
deep.
Ruined like the month. That was the worst basketball I've ever watched. It
We're
was
still not fully back from it.
it was a bludgeoning, absolute massacre. Like I couldn't get up off the couch whenever like it was over before it started.
I think their plus 240 kind of gives me vibes from like Steph Curry in the 3-point contest last night. Like you got to give a team like odds, but it's kind of like who's outside of Arkansas this year, but like who's going to beat them? If they're playing at their top level, who's going to beat them? And that plus 240, if them is even so low, is still so enticing for how good they've been the entire season. So it's like, yeah, it's not much, but heck, like I said, outside of Arkansas, I don't see anybody taking them down. So there's still value even in a low number like that.
Yeah, they only went 1-0 against potentially Tennessee and Florida. So that's where they got both of those, won it by 8 and 15. So that's just kind of where you feel confident, especially with the plus 240. If you get them in the finals and you know they're going to be the favorite, you'll have an auto edge or auto hedge out bet with that other team. So that's kind of where if you want to go chalk, even though you're getting a good price behind it, it's not a bad way to go. Another team, recent coaches, don't know what that trend is where maybe the talent was already there and the current coaches just couldn't pull it up because Musselman no longer transfer you there when you pull in Moses Moody, who's easily going to make the first team all freshman, potentially even first team all conference. Because if Alabama's not the hottest team, when you win 8 straight games to end the conference and Oklahoma State was your only loss, so you won 11 straight games in the SEC, as Link has been alluding to, the must bust is rolling. The offense and defense is just evenly balanced where you kind of say it's crazy that Bama hit all those threes. That defense is what they rely on more to get that team going. Arkansas, they just are a balanced ship where it seems like they just have games where they're off on both sides of the ball. It doesn't really seem like in their losses that the offense just isn't clicking. Teams are, I don't want to say getting into their style, but they've pulled out some close single-digit wins in this recent win stretch. So they do look vulnerable. Are you confident that they are? No. But Link, you only lost to them at 1. It was at Rupp. So that's kind of where that was a good barometer test of that was a grinded out Arkansas win where they let Kentucky back into that game.
Yeah. I mean, I think so that is a good barometer, and it's also like you can flip around. Like I've been watching UK all year, and they have not once been able to close out a close game. So if I got a team 1-11 in a row, and I want close games because that's what you're going to get in March, and that's what you're going to get in these conference tournaments, and you're going to play a team that's getting hot at some point. So if you can take it down to the last second, you trust your guys. That's what makes me more confident than anybody else than usual for this year.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of counted out Arkansas after they got beat by like 32 times in a week by LSU and Alabama back to back and kind of stopped paying attention to them. And then turn around 2 weeks before the end of the season, they're killing Alabama at home. So, yeah, Must Bus has it going. They're the only team I see giving Alabama any sort of fight in this conference right now. So.
Yeah, so when I'm looking at the stats here, I look at conference only at this point just because you see a team like Alabama who played some tough ones. Then you see teams like Arkansas who kind of played an extreme layup where no one came with even in quad fucking 3. And they're, North Texas, you guys were quad 2, but everyone else was quad 4 that they played in the non-con. But when you drill and the number 1 team in 3 points where you're shooting at 38%, that's just scary, especially with how hard they can D up where you got the top offensive 3 team there, but they just don't get to the line. They can shoot well from the line, but they don't rely on it. So I always try to find a team that does threes and gets to the line well as a team that I feel very confident backing, especially if they can nail them from the stripe, because that's just a deadly combo in those tight games. JD yelling that Arkansas to the moon. He's hopping on the Must Bus with it seems like to be the rest of America right now.
Love it.
All right. Long shots. We got some long shots to talk about. This is where your bread's buttered. No pressure. We got a plus 1,600 in the finals from one of our conference tourney previews so far. So no pressure there that they might not win it. So if you get the winner and you can beat that plus, but that seems to be where the barometer is set. Sam, Who do you like as long shots?
Mizzou is one of them. I mean, they had a nice run in the non-conference, kind of slipped up in the middle of the SEC slate. Never really got back to that undefeated team, or I'm pretty sure they were undefeated coming out of non-conference, beat Oregon and Illinois, but never really got back to that. They looked good on Saturday against LSU, but still dropped it. I think they can play with anybody. Just depends on if they can close it out. Kentucky, I'm never going to count them out. Cal always wins the SEC tournament. I don't care how bad they look. I'm just not going to do it. I've learned my lesson enough times, and then I'll throw LSU in there because they can score 90 any night, and it just depends on if they decide they're going to give up 70 or 90.
So which one are you the most confident behind, or which one would you not – you probably haven't yet, but you putting a Taco Bell run on any of these? You putting some couch change to make some more fun on this?
I'll do it on LSU, yeah. I mean, they're the better of the three that I've chosen as long shots, but I'm not confident in it because Will Wade hasn't coached in March since like 2017 or no, 2018. So it's been quite a while. It'll be nice to have him actually on the sidelines, but yeah, not confident enough in it.
Plus 700 ain't too bad. Link, who you looking at for your long shots? All right, well, the long shots.
Yeah, sorry.
There you are. Who are you looking at for the long shots?
Missouri and
long shot, Lincoln's internet.
Yeah. Doesn't want him to give out the long shots. His brother started gaming too hard. It's taking up all the Wi-Fi. But the long shot, I mean, Mizzou, there's someone who I'm going to hit on much later. I don't want to say that maybe it's too much recent bias seeing what Oates and Musselman has done. But Kuzo, he's in year 4 there. He really hasn't started showing that progress that you want there. And that's, I don't know if it's the coaching or what, but this is finally year 4. You have to give them the credit. We have to see what type of run they can go on. And plus 1,000 is something that's definitely catching my eye. I just don't know. I mean, I've known what happened where this team's defense has kind of fallen apart, where they've been sitting at 13-3, and now they're sitting at 15-8. So you're definitely not backing the hottest team, but their path, even though I don't want to say it's the hardest because you do draw Arkansas, but since they've caught them once before, I can't say their path is too treacherous compared to other ones that we've seen in here. And then Ole Miss is another long shot that I like because they're on my upset to watch for. Because, yes, you guys were not liking the slower tempo teams, different thing like that. But, Sam, if there's going to be a seventh team that makes it, and I'm not confident in Kermit. I don't like Kermit Davis too much as a coach whatsoever. But that slower tempo, I think can definitely catch LSU only if they get cold. Because that is the sole reason that I think, I mean, if they've just mucked it out and grossed up some games, yes, they lost their sole matchup with them this season. But I think
without Cam Thomas.
All right, sorry, probably the player of the year without him as well. But I still think when you get LSU into that half court, that's where I like it more because you have a top 20 defense because, sure, they're not putting up 80s every single night, but we've seen this team hold other ones into the 50s, and that's just where limited number of possessions, anything can happen. Romello White and Schuler, let's see if, I mean, the transfer of White could be the biggest piece in this matchup. So my upset to watch for, which would set up for the long shot because you could get Ole Miss at plus 2,500 odds. I think they get through their first game without an issue. If they get past LSU, you're in free hedging time with a plus 2,500.
I just don't see it happening. Like you said, they lost the matchup once already this year. They had another one on the slate that never got played, but Cam Thomas didn't play in the game, and LSU still beat them by double digits. So I just think like the Tennessees and Ole Misses of the world are a dream matchup for LSU because whenever you're out running and shooting well, that's what LSU just doesn't match up well with. And we've seen even if Tennessee and Ole Miss kind of maybe came into the game hotter than what and thought they were going to give LSU a game, it turned out to not be. It turned out a blowout for LSU.
Yeah, well, that's where in their first game they tried to run with them quick, and they got down 15-2 off the bat. So that's where they just kind of shot themselves in the foot because Ole Miss isn't a team that I have confidence in, and it is 100% the reverse identity of that football team because that football team was not stopping anyone this year. Overs were usually a lock, and you get Ole Miss basketball with a bunch of like 120s to 130 totals, depending on who they match up with. Looks like Link's internet's surviving a little bit better. Who would be your long shots to look for? And we fucking jinxed it.
Oh, man.
Oh, man.
Link's internet provider, hot seat.
All right, Sam. Who's your upset that you're going to be picking and looking for and probably putting?
I'll go with
I know there's money line coming on it for this.
Yeah,
bet.
I'll go Homer, LSU over Arkansas. Like I said or referenced earlier, LSU already ran them off the court once in the matchup in Baton Rouge. Had the halftime lead in Fayetteville, but then somehow for some reason just fell asleep, didn't want to play in the second half, and got run off the court. So, I mean, LSU matches up well with Arkansas. It's not as scary as Alabama. I don't think LSU can beat Alabama because everybody shoots their best 3-point game against LSU's defense, and that's a dream matchup for Alabama. So it'll be an easy walk to a SEC title crown if LSU pulls that upset.
Ooh, you like them to deflate the wheels of the Must Bus? I mean, I'm not confident that Ole Miss can do it. I think the perfect matchup can set up for it. LSU versus Arkansas is definitely a game that I want to break down a little bit specifically more when we get to that point of because determining who comes out of that final part of the bracket. I mean, I really think I want to go against Bama here. So I'm going to be just personally rooting for whoever comes out of the bottom side of that bracket. We got so even though Link's internet is slow, and I don't know what's slower, JD, if it's the offense or not, but we got some Cats by 90s comments in here. So we liken them as the upset because I know that's what Link was alluding to is he thinks Kentucky can take down Bama. We'll give them another shot. How's the internet working? Will they let you talk about your Cats?
Let's see.
No. Fire it off quick. Just say the Cats by 90. Oh, no.
Yeah, no, it's just not working. I mean, if I have to make a case for Kentucky to take down Alabama and to say what Link's going to try to say, it's going to be a tough one here because you lost both times against them by 20 and by 11. So that is never your best start. Second, maybe they figured out, and Kentucky's looked a lot more solid in February and definitely in March, but they posted two of their worst offensive games for definitely points per possession wise, where they put up 0.8 and 0.89. So that's just where that confidence is what makes me tough. But Link, you're looking clear now. How are the Cats going to score against Bama?
Oh, God, please don't jinx it. It's more I'm actually going to bank on. I know Alabama's got one of the better defenses in the country, but what I'm banking on is Calipari finally decided that Devin Askew wasn't his fix, and it came to the last game of the season, and I'm hoping that with his move to Davion Mintz at point guard, you're going to be seeing an offense that you haven't seen against Alabama in the 2 games they played. A couple of the guys are really actually starting to kind of pick it up from 3 a lot better. And what I'm saying is that, okay, maybe this is what has to happen for it to happen. Kentucky's played a game. They're feeling fresh. You get an Alabama team that's already looking forward to Sunday. They've got their 2 wins against Kentucky. It happens all the time in the SEC tournament. That's how it's going to happen. If it's going to. Do I think it'll happen? No. I don't really actually think it will. But if it were to happen, for my upset pick to occur, that's what it's going to be. It's going to be the leadership immense. But the key to it all is Keon. Keon Brooks is the key to the entire puzzle right now. He has to show up. You've got to see Keon Brooks, first Florida game, Keon Brooks for it to happen against Alabama. That's your key to it all.
So definitely a little salty at this Kentucky team because Deontay Allen, he came in, dropped 23 one game, dropped 14 in the next one, has won double-digit game since, has posted a bunch of zeros or twos on every other game. Dude cost me a little bit of coin the one night. I know Brooks has been the piece here, but he was the biggest flash in the pan and probably the biggest caller radio saying that he needs to be starting, he needs to be playing every game because I know you're listening to the local sports talk. Any thoughts on the team on Allen or no?
I never thought first off, I was happy for him. When it happened, I was so excited. I was like, okay, cool, the Kentucky kid's getting to do it. Can't play defense. And he travels 4 times a game. I've never seen a high-level athlete. He scored like 45 points a game in high school. He can't dribble. He can't play defense. He doesn't know what he's doing on the court. So
yeah, but the other 4 guys on your team can do that. Like whenever he came in, Kentucky was scoring like 40 points a game.
Hey, I agree, Sam. But Calipari for some reason here's the best part about Calipari this year is he finally lied and said, "Oh, the analytics, they're great," and then shit on them. Just threw the analytics to the ground and rubbed them in the ground. So I think the main problem, and you haven't seen Allen out there as much, is because Calipari has had this weird obsession with 2 bigs all year, with Jackson and Sarr being on the court. So he hasn't found the time for Allen. I have a feeling, though, that when they play Alabama, Allen's going to find his way in the game, and some miracle is going to happen. The big blue miracle is going to happen.
Yeah, just I need Cal to just set him down, show him a Klay Thompson highlight tape. Show him you can score 40 points. You can score 40 points without dribbling. It's fine. Don't move your feet. Just sit there and don't dribble.
Put your 4 best defensive guys. Actually, put 3 guys and just don't let Sarr think he's on the court. Let him kind of toss to the side, and just say, "Hey, you actually don't even let Allen cross half court. Let him stand there." It's like
pull the ball
in a frat league where one kid the big kid never leaves the other side of the court, but he can shoot. Allen's not big, but let him do that. Just don't ever touch the other side of the court, and I'll be happy. And then that miracle occurs.
And man, that would be crazy to say because you need the defense to play against Bama. But if you're just going to go point for point with them, best of luck with that strategy. But when the Cats have put up more than 80, they've only lost once, and that was against Arkansas where it came down to the wire. So when the offense does get cooking, we've seen some games, and 4 of them of the, I think, 6 games have came as of late. So that's where the offense is finding the rhythm at the right time. They're on the wrong side of the bubble, sitting at 9-15. But that win against Bama is going to go very long to get them into that first 4 in.
If you get the combination of Mintz now playing starting guard, a good Keon Brooks game, and Isaiah Jackson keeping it up, you have a shot. Now, how many times those things happen 3 times all year against a good team? Rarely, but that's what you're going to need for the miracle to occur this year. And they haven't lost to Alabama once since Cal got there in the SEC tournament. So, and they played them, I think, somehow in a randomized seeding tournament, they played them 5 straight years. So maybe the 6 times the charm for Alabama, who knows?
All right, they
might as well have just given you the first round bye because hasn't Mississippi State not beat Kentucky since Cal's got there either?
Something like that. Yeah, this is like the year. And I think this is the year that if Kentucky doesn't win, the SEC finally catches Kentucky in SEC tournaments. So that's also why I want to win. I want that record to live. I lost the 3-point record. I lost every good record I had. This is the one that I need to keep going.
All right, let's get into some bracket talk here and give us who we think we're going to be cutting down the nets, talking about some key matchups here. So, we got to start off with Texas A&M and Vandy because eyes are going to be glued to see who gets to play Florida. No, I'm just kidding. If there is a matchup to talk about, that will determine our Final Four here. And I think that's where we're going to give it a quick stop because it's a good way to segue who we think is going to win this matchup because we all have Florida meeting Tennessee in the quarterfinals. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong when you get to your portion of the bracket, but I believe we have that matchup. That's the 4 versus the 5. and that's the one that's going to be worth spending any bit of time talking about before we get closer to the semis. With these matchup, or when these two teams faced off, they split them 1-1 so far. So no good barometer there. Tennessee, they have the second biggest delta between their offense and defense. LSU has the biggest one, but they have the 9th worst offense in the conference, while they have the second best defense in the conference. So Tennessee games, as Sam alluded to earlier, yeah, they are not fun to watch. They're pretty terrible, and they stink at shooting the three, which doesn't help it in because it's just kind of Fulkerson there, and you had the transfer of Bailey Jr., who's been producing well, but none of them are really that explosive players that thrive in the ISO game. So that's where that slower tempo comes in. And their key to success this season is when they're averaging more than 1 point possession on their games. They've lost once this entire season. The rest of the year, they went 10-7 in conference, so you can put your math in. I don't have to explain that out. But when their offense is clicking, and that's your barometer you want to look at, because most games have 62 points. So points per possession means you're basically ending every game with 62. So you're saying if they can make that barometer, they're only losing one game at that rate. That's where Tennessee, I think, is going to be sneaky tough for that one in Florida. But something just tells me that even though I hate Castleton, hopefully Trey Mann has recovered from that migraine, because I suffer from migraines. They're no joke there. I just think Florida comes through that matchup, and I have Florida getting through there. The team and everything that's looked in the makeup shows that Tennessee could find that early season form, but I'm just a little bit more convinced there because they just got killed on the boards from Florida both times. But from three, Tennessee shot 6 for 39. I think that's just showing you your recipe of success, where Florida, their offense will just be able to put up 75 and win this game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the same page. I have no faith in Tennessee right now, and I was big on them before the season started. I won't lie. I was huge on Tennessee. I really thought, hey, finally this is gonna be the year I don't make fun of them when March comes around. But no, they have managed to just make me want to make fun of them again. And it's those dead. I mean, I've watched all year with Kentucky. It's those dead phases of offense that I think are going to kill them. And like I said, I'm big when it comes to any conference tournament. I'm big on this. I think Florida getting that extra game, that where they kind of get their legs going and everything. I think that's what's going to help them prevail. You're going to see probably 2 dead spans where both teams have kind of a dull moment, but Florida's will not be as long, and that might be the key to it all. And like you said, that gap that Tennessee has between their defense and offense, Florida can make up for one when the other's not working with how close they are this year. So I think that's what gets Florida over the edge against Tennessee.
So I know Sam shares different thoughts. Link, any way he might share the same. Any thoughts on why my Castleton hate is ill-deserved? But I just do not. He's my least favorite player easily in the SEC to watch. I'd rather watch Vanover every day of the week out there than Castleton.
God, he's a tool.
Oh, tell me, Sam, why is he a tool? Just
He's a
feed
tool.
into me, it's even better.
I hate that LSU game whenever they played, and he was pumping his chest, turning around, staring after he got his second point of the game, and just acting like he's the biggest, baddest dude in the SEC. Grow up, guy. Come on. And I've never liked anything Florida does in any sport. So just him being the perfect villain. I kind of started to feel like I was having some sympathy towards Florida, because Keontae Johnson, he's fine. We're happy. He's all better now. But I was okay, we'll take it easy on this team. Nothing too bad. And then that Castleton kid started running down the court, pumping his chest and stuff. And I was all right, the hate's back.
Yeah, definitely losing to Tennessee and blowing that lead, what they did yesterday, is real. I mean, you just got to throw that one out of the way. Trey Mann wasn't playing. They had the early lead. So you just got to hope they kind of just maybe potentially packed it in at the second half. That game, I did believe, had implications on who got the 4 and who got the 5, though. So that's kind of strange that Florida would end up choking that one down the end. All right.
I mean, they didn't have much to deal with in the first game they're going to play anyway. So they probably saw it as it doesn't really matter. Get a warm-up game in.
All right, let's rattle off our final four in this bracket. Who do we think will be squaring up in the top half? Sam, who do you got?
Well, you just talked me off Tennessee. I didn't really give that game too much thought because I knew whoever won that game was just going to lose to Alabama. But I'm going to go with Florida now. Arkansas, LSU, and Bama completely chalk. Very boring. But and then I'll say Alabama wins it all.
Link, what's your bracket looking like?
If I'm still here,
Oh, no.
If I'm still here, the perfect last words.
Link's internet working. They're playing like Kentucky this year. So
Glimpses of hope, some nice long spurts, and then the offense just goes to die for a 30-second span, and they let up an 8-0 run. All right, Link, I think you're good if you're not laughing too much.
Oh, no.
All right, so for my bracket, I'm going a little bit different here. I'm not going with the chalks up top for me. Well, I got Florida beating Tennessee, and then I got Bama, and I got Bama taking down Florida because when they do have that extra game, that's where he's eventually going to their legs are going to give in. Bama's just different quality. They'll run them off the gym that game. Might be looking to lay the points with Bama against Florida there. My bottom half, this is where I think the madness happens because sure, your first round game with down at the bottom with Ole Miss and South Carolina. South Carolina, just since Cousinards played like once and they put up 20. Other than that, he hasn't played and they've lost. So I think Ole Miss gets through easily there. I'm sticking with my upset to watch for. I'm picking Ole Miss to take down LSU because it's March. There's no way I'm going chalk in my bracket. Doubling down by going against the chalk here. Mizzou, the senior roster, their defense has completely, I wouldn't say fallen apart yet, but they haven't looked hot at the beginning of the season. I just think that's where the team that had the most continuity coming into the season just adapted easier. They're used to playing with each other. And it's like the Mark Smith scoring has just completely gone down. He's putting up 20 in the first few games, and since then he is rarely breaking 20, but we're going to take them as the upset as well. So I got Mizzou versus Ole Miss in the bottom of the bracket. I'm going with Mizzou against Bama in my finals, and then got to go chalk here and got to take Bama because I don't think Cuzo Martin will be able to outcoach Nate Oates here.
Mario, the way that you are.
Let's see. Link, is he here for his bracket? Because he has his 4. He doesn't have his winner, so I don't know if I'll be able to recap who he's got cutting down the nets. He's got Bama, Wu Pig Sui, LSU, and Florida. So he matches yours right there. And I don't know. I can't say who he has winning it because I have no idea.
The suspense is killing me.
He's taken Wu Pig Sui because he can still hear us even though he's a glimpse. And I think this one is one of his buddies where the product placement's got to be better like LSU's here. So he got some more Tiger slander, not thinking they're going to boot up.
There's no money on the table like Louisville under in Baton Rouge. So let's not take any slanderous takes out here, or throw any slanderous takes out here against my guy Will Wade.
All right, Sam, it's time for you to gush over Cam Thomas because all three of them think he's unanimously the player of the conference. So why do you say that? Because you're going to make the best case out of all of us.
He's the best scorer I've seen personally at LSU in my 25 years of life. I unfortunately didn't get to see Pistol Pete or Chris Jackson. Now, Mahmoud Abdul Rauf. But Cam Thomas, 10 straight games with 20 points, 17 plus in every single conference game, 14 games with 25 or more, SEC leading scorer, 4th in the nation. I mean, what more do you need me to say? He's carried the team scoring-wise throughout the entire year. He's a walking bucket. It doesn't get much easier than this.
Yep, and then I think Moody and Herbert Jones are the only ones that are in shouting distance with him, but I think it's got to go to Cam. Lastly,
it's not going to.
You don't think he gets it?
No, I don't think he's going to, because someone's gonna pull it's got to be the best player on the best team, and
Then it's going to
that
be
kind of
Herbert
stuff.
Jones then.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can make his stats just because I guess everyone might just say Cam Thomas just doesn't care about defense, and that's the only thing that could potentially knock him out. But I don't know. I think you got to give it to him, especially if you take any bit of recency bias into it. No one's putting up the last 10 game split like he is in the SEC.
Exactly.
Also, this is the first one where it's matched up. We all have Nate Oates as coach of the year, second year in the program. You get them to be regular season champs. I don't even know the last time Bama was the regular season champs. So got to give them all credit there on that one.
And really, can I say, just what an asshole. Let everyone else have football. You all have football. Let us have just one thing. Stop being mean. Stop hoarding all the shit. Just let us have a sport where you are not the most dominant. Please.
Sam, that one game, I can give you some more a little bit LSU hype, because they only gave up one game or 3 games where they've let the opposing team make more than 10 threes. Granted, one of them you gave up 25, so that's never a good sign. But there's only been 3 games in the SEC where you've allowed more than 10 threes. The defense, sure, is 9th in the SEC ranked overall, but you do defend from deep. Your 2-point defense is where you got to be a little bit more concerned about. And you guys take care of business against the bottom feeder. So that's where trying to say Ole Miss is going to catch them, I'm not that confident with. But when you're 4-7 against the quad 1, you've beaten them before. So that's where you can definitely make the run. But I don't know. I'm not confident in that Ole Miss pick, but that's where you can't hate on it that much, because you guys, I don't want to say you had an up year. You guys hit expectations.
Yeah, I mean, the winningest team in the SEC over the last 3 years. Yes, that is correct. Most wins in the conference. But I mean, it's a coin flip with every LSU basketball game. You don't know what the defense is going to do. You don't know how well or how many threes the other team's going to hit, because the 3-point defense, even though statistically sounds good on paper, watching it's a nightmare, because I guess I'm just shell shocked and have PTSD from the Alabama game. But it's 3 years of watching Will Wade and his teams give up historically dominant 3-point games. And am I sick of it? No, a little bit, but I'll take the results overall. If our floor or our expectations are now double by, it's so much better than having the number 1 pick in the draft and missing the fucking tournament. So I'll take it.
Yes, sir. Link, any final comments, because you've been a little glitchy? Still glitchy. That is our stream from the Breakdown Sports tonight. Make sure you check out our website, thebreakdownsports.com. You follow us on Twitter at BRKDWN_sports. We got you covered in all facets with NBA power rankings, NHL power rankings, soccer match previews, anything you need. We got you covered there. We even got fantasy football analysis and different stuff like that coming out every day at the Breakdown. So always be checking us out for the new content on top of the pods, on top of the streams. We just got you covered. And until then, you can follow us under our heads at Sam Murphy 20 there's an underscore in the middle. You got at Not an Otterbox. You're not glitchy again, Link. You want to sign off?
Yes. Ride the Must Bus. Kentucky has a chance. I don't believe in it. I'm saying it. Nate Oates is an asshole. You're right. He's kind of Alabama's become the Brooks Koepka of this world. Brooks is good looking and good at golf. It's not fair. You get one or the other. Alabama's that way. So screw him. I'm all on that. I hate Will Wade, and it's not. Must Bus. That's all I got. We do the Must Bus. Also, we do esports as well. So don't forget.
Sam, any parting words?
Yeah, do everything that Rex said. Check out the site. Also, new started last week, but golf bets now coming out. Big weekend in golf. Players Championship. Let's everyone have some winners this week. Big week of gambling. So let's hit it.
we're about there. Sunday's going to be fun. Might be a little sweaty for some of you out there, but until